Welcome to She Speaks by Atleta Filipina, our conversations with Filipina champions. Hope presented by Modest. Lakas ng confidence with Modest. Kasi pag meron na you, Modest got you. We want to have candid conversations with our Filipina athletes on their struggles, wins, and secrets to excellence to inspire everyone to push limits, rise stronger, and win their own battles in life. I'm Bigo, your host. And to introduce our guest for today's episode, she won a breakthrough bronze medal in the 2025 SEA Games in sports climbing when she was 14 years old. Inspired by her parents who are also in climbing, she has already participated in major climbing competitions like the Asian Youth Cup since she was 10 years old. In 2024, she won the USA Youth Speed Nationals, and in 2025, she was named Youth Heroes in the Ciclab Awards for her contributions in sports climbing. And to add to that, she is a two-time Philippine national champion in 2023 and 2025. So let us welcome Praj dela Cruz. Hi Praj, nice to have you here on She Speaks.
Hello. I'm really honored to be here.
Yes, and in She Speaks, we always start our conversations with a very light and uplifting question. So, as you know, I'm sure like at this age, like you're aside from being focused on sport climbing, you wanna actually explore a lot of things. So, like aside from sports climbing, what sport are you fond of and why?
Ooh, okay. I would say a recent one um that I was very intrigued by was like figure skating. I just love the way like these athletes just like dance on the ice. And it was like really, really cool watching that and just seeing them flow with like grace because that sport like I tried ice skating with my friends, and it is like the hardest thing I could do. Like I swear, like my ankles were cramping up. I was like, how do they do this? And other than that, like I'm slipping. But these figure skaters are doing twirls and jumps, and I was just like, whoa, that is very intriguing, and I'm just inspired that like that's a lot of dedication. I thought that was cool. I think another sport that was pretty interesting, sorry about going back, was like Ninja Warrior because that is also like my other sport. But seeing them fly through the air was very interesting too.
Can you talk more about Ninja Warrior? Like, what is that?
So Ninja Warrior, or I think in the Philippines they call it OCR, which is basically like obstacle course racing. It's basically where like athletes, if you ever watched a show, they compete over water and they basically have to do crazy stunts like lacheting 6 feet or holding on to like really thin cliffhangers, and everything about the sport is very dynamic and very fast. So also do that sport, and that's why I was like, I think it isn't also like a good cross training for climbing.
Yeah, like I think I do talk to a lot of like OCR girlies who are also into climbing. So I think like you guys work really hand in hand. It's so fun. Like in the Philippines, it's getting really big. We have the Spartan race, and then a lot of other girl. And it's summer. It's almost summertime in the Philippines, so that's where OCR really like becomes a boom as well. So yeah, like thanks for sharing that. And I guess like we could move on to the discussion because yeah, we've really seen like how you're inspired by your parents who are in sports climbing, but how what was your own story naman and how you started in the sport?
Um, So, as like some people may know, my parents had climbed before me, and they actually met and fell in love through climbing. They literally met each other in Power Up Tungling Sora, and that's when they like started to get to know each other and started climbing together. And when I was born, they never necessarily like said, "Oh, Praj, like you have to do the sport." It kind of came to me naturally. Like they would see me climbing like random objects, like in the house, for example. I would climb the stairs, but the wrong way. Like I would climb where the rail is, And I learned how to climb before I could walk. And they have like, I think, younger videos of me just climbing the windows of our house in Manila. So that is basically how I started climbing. And then my dad like saw potential at a very young age. And so I actually started competing and training seriously at 7 years old.
Yeah, and that was when you were in the Philippines.
For the when I was born to when I was 3, I was in the Philippines, and then I moved to America when I was 3, and then I started training at 7. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So how young were your other batch? Well, I call it batchmates, I guess. Like when you started to compete.
So my other competitors were actually um around the same age as me. Some of them were like a year or two older. Of course, like we're very young, so I guess you have like a bunch of little kids just like figuring out like, oh, I love rock climbing and like how to problem solve at a younger age. And actually, a bunch of like my competitors at a younger age were still competing till this day. Um, but of course, like I also had other teammates who were like in their teens trying to show the ropes of like 7-year old Praj saying like, oh, like maybe if you switched your technique a little bit. And yeah, but we were all around the same age though. So that was very nice.
Wow, so nice. Like you definitely grew up with a very supportive community. You had your ates and kuyas, but also like your peers, right? So, I guess in the Philippines, like we don't get to see a lot of that yet. But like, how, when your dad started to see potential in you, like, what did he? Was that for you to be more competitive? Did you want to be competitive as well?
So when I met by saw like potential, I guess before I turned 7, I think I always like begged him like I need to go to the park. And all the time me and my dad would he would drive me no matter how far this playground was. He would always find a new one for me so that I could just get my hands on something and just climb. Or sometimes we would have like videos of me pretending to be a Ninja Warrior athlete. Like, oh, she's on the course, and like, 1, 2, 3, go. And my dad was like the best commentator. And when I got a little bit older, when I started competing, so this was now like when I was 7 years old, he would bring me to the rock climbing gym. And at the time, this was in Florida, and he would basically say, "Okay, we're gonna put bells on your rock climbing shoes, and I want to, give you a challenge, and let's see how quiet your feet can be." So it was never like, "Oh, you have to do this and that." It was more like, "Oh, here's like a fun challenge you could try, and let's see if you could do it." And I guess like it was subtly helping me and building up what I needed to learn as a younger athlete, but he was never like the strictest dad. He was more of a supporting dad.
Oh, that's so sweet. So you were just all for the challenges. That's
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then what made you like I guess like, you're starting in competition, right? But like eventually you'd be progressing into like the nationals and international competitions in like all over the world and in the Philippines as well. So, what led you to that like elite athlete level?
Um, for me, it was when, like, of course, I had idols growing up. Like, for example, we have a lot of great names in climbing. We have Yanya Garnbrett, we have Lynn Hill, Adam Andra, like, we had Brooke Rabbit, and we had like a bunch of other athletes that I was like, oh, I want to grow up to be like them. And so the challenges that my dad would give me when I was younger, it stopped from being like a fun little challenge to like, okay, now like let's actually train because this is my goal now. Like I want to be an athlete where I can like have glory in my name or, just have something that can make me a very strong and like credible athlete in the sport. So that's when I like started training to become more elite, just refining my mindset and like my mentality to become more elite and just focus on like load management, of course, because at a young age, you can't give me 20 pounds and like tell me to lift it. Of course, that's gonna like destroy my body. But like over the years, we would start doing like cardio, something that's like doesn't allow weight. And it helped me become more elite and just we're still like till this day like refining things and now I do weightlifting now and I hit the gym a lot now. So that's what helped me become a more elite athlete.
And did you have coaches with you, or was it your dad like coaching you all the way through all this?
So as a kid, I was very rowdy and oftentimes I would complain. It was like I know it was like the worst thing ever. I would be like, Dad, no, I don't want to do this right now. And so my dad was like, okay, maybe the reason why it's not working is because, I'm your dad, and that's why you're probably, acting up, or sometimes you're like talking back. So he was like, okay, we're gonna get like coaches. We need to put you on a team so you could just like straighten up because I was not mature yet. And so I have coaches. I still have coaches till this day. But I guess it just depends because each coach that I have kind of just weaves in into my dad's like program, the schedule like he made. He's basically like the mastermind behind it all because of course as an athlete, and I think this happens to like a bunch of people just starting off like even like when going to the gym. Like if you go to the gym, you might just stand there and you might be like, there's so many things to look at. Like there's dumbbells and there's so many things. So that's why they would need a trainer to come up with a plan, and that's why I have my dad. So
Yeah, but he's not the one actually coaching you for that. So that really helped. And did that help you with your growth as well as an athlete?
yes, it did. My dad is like he basically like sacrificed everything to just help me become, a better athlete. And so he is like he works as like a climbing coach himself. And so because I'm not always surrounded by, coaches, it's mostly just like him and me just like working on the tiny details because he doubles as a dad and a coach, he just knows like the tiniest little details that I need to work on that a normal coach can't see because me and my dad has a very close relationship like that. And with his help, I mean, without him, I just don't think I would be in this position. So I'm really grateful that he has been helping me and pushing me.
Yeah, and it seems like a very given like how close you are, it also seems like the sport has become like a family kind of sport, right? Like it's the time that you get to bond with each other and even travel together because I'm sure you've been traveling around maybe the US and sometimes back in the Philippines. And how has that been like representing the flag and country? Because you did mention a little bit a while ago to me that there was like it's a decision point that you made.
Yes. So at a certain point in, I guess I'm gonna call it my climbing career, um, we, I basically like had to focus like purely on what I wanted to do in the future, right? I had to plan ahead, especially because my family and I were not like the wealthiest people in the entire world. But I would say that like traveling is like a huge expense because we have to figure out how to um gain the money to compete in the first place, because I'm not sponsored yet, especially because of my age. So traveling is actually like super hard. But when I travel, I compete on behalf of the Philippine team. I know that you were talking earlier, and you're saying that, oh yeah, she got like first for the USA like youth speed championship. But, even because you have to get podium in order to get onto team, I could 100% represent the USA in any competition. But I choose to represent my birth country because this is where I was born. I feel like I have to pay gratitude to, of course, like my heritage and where my parents came from and where I came from. And I feel like I have a lot of responsibility in ensuring that I can represent my family back home, my friends back home, and I could show just people around the world like what it's like to be a Filipino athlete living in the US. So that's why I choose to represent the Philippine team and do what I do.
I love that because like not everyone has the same burden as you, right? Like I think like if on a practical level people will just go for what's available, what can benefit them the most, but then like it's just really so inspiring that there are young people like you who still love the Philippines, who love the nation and love the people in it. So thank you so much, Proj, for sharing your the why behind representing us in the in like international competition. So how so what is your hope and dream like for for the Philippines and climbing, especially the Olympics are coming up. That's exciting.
Yeah, true. I feel like my like mission and like vision in the future for like climbing and especially in the Philippines is to like inspire the next generation of like young climbers such as myself, because like every night like I like have a dream, and I like dream of the future of like abundant amount of like young youth girls competing in climbing, and like especially in the Philippines, because like as of currently, like I have friends on like the national team, like they're like the names are like Gianna, Kana, like Bree, and there are so many others, but like these like three women have been training so hard, and they have been like inspiring other athletes like wherever or whenever they compete. And these ladies like around my age are like they're basically just the prime example of what I want to grow in the Philippines. We like share such a strong bond through climbing, and that feeling of just having my, own mini family is something that I want everyone to feel when climbing. I just really want to push female climbing forward, and I want it to keep going, and I want it to become something bigger, because there's so many examples of just even back in the day of just saying like, well, can a woman do it? And that's why my goal is just to push that over. So yeah.
She Speaks by Atleta Filipina Season 3 is co-presented by Modest. All-day confidence even on red days. Be worry-free from leaks and skin irritation thanks to its clinically tested non-irritant cover that's also hypoallergenic. Lakas ng confidence with Modest. Kasi pag meron na you, Modest got you. You also mentioned a while ago about like you have a vision for women in the Philippines, for young girls as well, because and in the Philippines, there's actually a phrase. It's called babae kasi. So it translates to because you're a girl. So in the Philippines, when it's used, it's usually often like so dismissive. It's used casually, and but then it actually does more impact and harm to women. Like not only are our feelings dismissed, but also our confidence. So this season we're unpacking that phrase because now women in 2026 we're building up like power in media, in sports, and in business. So I want to ask you, like in your journey, was there a moment you were reduced to that, like babae kasi?
Yeah, I'm really glad that you pointed that out. Especially because we have such vast technology today. Media can really spread the word fast, like wildfire. And I've been seeing like just a skyrocket in like women's like empowerment. Like we've always had like I think year after year, like there was like, oh, women, yay. But now it's just like, whoa, like we could really like change a lot of things and like eliminate the bias and this border, I would say. I feel like it's literally like a lot of people and a lot of different women in different sports are destroying that barrier. For me, I would say that because climbing is a sport where the women and men are like pretty much equal. It's very like rare to say that. I would say like a good example is like tennis. I feel like some men and women can like compete at each other and be at the same par. That's what I would say is similar in climbing. Like a lot of women and men are at the same par. But when I was younger, let's say I wasn't in the safe zone of my little climbing community, because climbing communities are the best.
Yeah.
They don't care who you are, what you are, as long as you're a climber, it's party all day. But when I go to school and I'm like, yeah, it's really fun, guys. Like, I'm a rock climber and I'm super strong and I'm competing, sometimes against like, men, or sometimes I'm like competing with and training with guys. And some of the people at my school, and the worst part was that these were American girls, okay, telling me, like, are you sure though? Are you sure they weren't trying to be nice? And it was just culture shock. I was like, hello? What do you mean? And I just was so surprised that just in a school, this isn't the real world yet. We're supposed to be sheltered and stuff. These girls already have a mindset that they are less than their men counterparts. And I was just mind blown. And then when I would talk to my friends who were guys, I was like, yeah, I could totally crush you guys, if we were to do a pull up challenge or a hanging challenge. They're like, really though? And I was just like, man, this is insane. So I guess like I really wanted to destroy that barrier in that school. And unfortunately, I was never able to do that. And I still think about that school and how it still haunts me about the fact that my friends and the people I know there still have the same mentality. That worries me because, going back to my vision, what are they going to spread to their children when they grow old? What are they going to say? Like, darn, you're a girl. Sorry, well, good luck. So
Yeah.
that's why. I think that was like the all-time low for me when I was like in public school.
Definitely. Like, thanks for sharing that because I really, so, like, as I said, like, it was a comment that was just like, they thought that it was like something from, like, genuine, right? It seemed like they were caring about you, but it can actually dismiss people. And if you let that comment, like, stay with you, like, past public school, like, you wouldn't be doing this if you look at it in retrospect, right?
Yeah, actually, I when I was at that school, I was tormented day and night that I'm not I would say my one emotion that my friends or family members would notice, is that just a very happy person. There's nothing that can bring me down. But I would always go to my mom after school and I'd tell her all the things that I've heard and I've learned. And, my mom would be like, you know what, Prash, like, unfortunately, that's the time that we're living in. And this is like how hard it is to be, a young girl. And my mom would tell me, I'm sorry, you have to hear that. And younger Praj would just break down. And I would tell my mom, I'm like, Mom, I think I'm depressed. And she's like, No, you're not depressed, okay? Like there's differences, okay? You're just extremely sad because of the situation that you were given. And that's true. Um, so I guess I don't know, it's just very heartbreaking to talk about even to today because that's just one school. And I guess that one school was pretty big, it had like 1,000 or more kids in there. But in American schools, like we have a lot of attendees per day. And so like if it's not just that school, there's more, America's big. There's so many like ideas that could spread. So yeah.
Yeah. But that's a good thing you also said at the start, right? Because of technology, because of social media, that even the ideas of women empowerment are spreading to young women like you. So, how do you think you could inspire these young girls to break away and find freedom also to like keep doing what they do in sport? And to stay in sport, a lot of women in at your age, right, teenagers, they think about dropping out of sport, right? But for you, you stayed and pushed on.
Um, yeah. Thank the Lord for me. Yeah. Yeah, because our word is spreading. I remember I saw an ad because I was watching I think the World Cup in Seoul. And basically, like all these athletes are competing there, World Cup athletes, and then I was like, "Whoa, I'm watching them." Boom, ad. And this ad basically was by Dove. And I remember it so distinctively because it was like, did you know so and so girls in sports drop out because of um I think it was like
Body
because
insecurity, like, yeah.
yes, that body insecurity. And I was just like, oh no, that's horrible. And then I go to practice and I see all my strong girls, I'm like, hey guys. And within the next year, most of them, half of them are gone. And I see them in the gym once in a while. I saw one of them last week. I had a conversation with her. I said, why'd you stop? You're such a good athlete. There's so many like people I could count that like you are such at a good level and you could have like kept going. And she was just telling me like, you know what? I don't know. Climbing is like you have to be light in order to stay on the wall. And I was just like, oh, that's crazy because I am a heavy athlete. Like of course, like I know like in terms of like general, I'm not like a heavy person, but compared to my competitors, I am taller. And I might have, bigger muscles. Muscles are heavier than fat. And I know that that cannot be true because I'm still competing at an amazing level and that has nothing to do with my weight. And I've been hearing stories of like my friends on different national teams like Team USA, Team Portugal, Team Switzerland, like whatever. And they were telling me, "Oh, some of my friends like before they are allowed to do a competition, they had to check your weight and your body ratio to making sure you're eating properly. And in climbing, that is such a huge issue that we see today. A lot of girls are underfeeding, and it's not just, you know, climbing. There's so many other sports. And I'm just like, whoa. And I used to be like a part of this. I used to tell myself, yeah, you know what? I need to work on this. And so I would lose 2 pounds a day. And that's just because the only thing I was eating was I think a few protein bars.
Oh my gosh,
just,
a day.
just so I could like have muscle. No, but like actually thinking about it, if you're eating less than 1,000 calories a day, you're not burning fat, girl. You're burning muscle. And so that's why, like, looking at that Dove ad, I was just like, oh my God, that was me. And I have like so many photos of just Praj like being the skinniest like little noodle. And I was just like, I don't want that to be the future of girls in any sport. I wish I could just tell them like, you're growing. There are hormones within you. You are not, done. You're not at your full like women's state. And I wish I could have told younger Proj that too, because it affects me today. I feel like I could have been more muscle toned if I hadn't hurt myself in that way. So I feel like, especially in climbing, we just need to stop that belief that you're lighter and it helps your fingers.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned Dove because last year when we launched She Speaks by Atleta Filipina, Dove was our sponsor and we actually did this conversation with them. So I'm very much familiar with like this campaign and I'm so glad that you mentioned it again.
Wait, that's so well, I'm so glad it reached out to me.
Yeah.
Cool. Wait, it's working, guys. That's very interesting. That's cool to learn about that. Thanks to Dove. I don't know exactly like what they were doing because the ad was very short. Maybe you could tell me like later at some time. But I guess that was just a really cool fact to learn. And I hope, like maybe the statistics can change in the future.
Yes, we totally believe that. And I guess like we also want like of course like you thank you also for sharing your vision for women's sports and like girls in climbing as well. So why do you think like it's important for girls and women to have representation? So I'm sure like you're leading towards there, right? Like I guess in your climbing career you also want to be that role model for the next generation of girls in climbing.
So, okay. There was actually a movie I was watching right before this interview, and it was literally Zootopia 2. Like I know it's gonna be crazy correlation, but hear me out. It's a part in the movie, like right before my dad turned the TV and said, "Get ready for the interview." It was basically like where the main character, Judy Hopps, was just like, doing her own thing and she messed up slightly. And someone came up to her and they were just like, yeah, well, everything that you do and, can show like what other people perceive as you, like, and also, hurts the younger bunnies trying to look up and be like you. And I was just like, whoa, kids movie, what's going on? And so I was like, yeah, I think it's very important that we have proper, representation. I guess like in the NBA, there's like some stuff going down. Like some guys in the NBA are like doing not good stuff. Like they might be doing drugs, they might be holding guns. And it's just like you have children who want to be like you. What are you going to expect these children are going to do? Right? And I feel like in America, I turn on the news and it's just like, oh, yeah, well, this girl in freshman died because some guy shot her who was like, someone around my age. And I was like, well, I wonder why that happened. It's because of the culture that is, stirring over here. And I don't I don't necessarily appreciate that culture. But it's never about like the good things on the news. It's always the bad things. And so when you hear about the bad things and kids will hear about it and they would be like, oh, like blah 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 did this. So that's why it's important for women to have like proper representation and like especially just show little girls because like if we had like say like a good example here, Serena Williams, right? She's an amazing, yeah, she's an amazing example. Um, yeah, and like little girls like look up to her and they're like, oh yeah, that's so cool. That's why like it's important to like build that bond, through media.
Like I believe that it's like they have to see like someone doing something good, putting their time into good use, like being in sport to just also prevent like crime. We've done so many studies on how like sports has also helped against like youth crime help youth crime prevention. And as you said, like with everything that's so negative, you just really have to like have also that dose of positivity. And I really believe that you're doing that, so thank you, Proj, so much for even just sharing like your desires, because I believe that we also believe in the younger generation that you guys are the ones who are going to make the change. And it's really nice that like as young as now that you guys already know like what needs to be done as well for the good of all. So Praj, like I'm not sure if you've seen this, but this box beside me is actually our Atleta Filipina rapid fire segment. There are a bunch of random questions here that it's just a fun segment that we always want to grace our athletes with, and you just have to answer with the first thing on your mind, no pressure. So, are you ready?
Yes.
All right. So the first question. Oh, early morning training or late night reps?
Okay, I do both. I train in the morning and at night. That's literally what happened today. I didn't climb today because I have little holes in
Oh
between.
no.
Yeah,
Okay.
right where it bends. So I normally work out in the morning just because, the sun is nice, and then I work out at night because the sunset is nice.
But it's not setting there, I think.
Yeah, just like having a good, even, time to separate, your training just to get like the most amount of training in, but also the most amount of rest.
All right. So thanks for sharing. Like as an athlete, it does go both ways. So, oh here, would you rather lead by vision or lead by example?
I would lead by example. I feel like if a kid or like a parent, I would want a parent to just be like, oh, let's use Praj as a good example. I feel like that would make me feel good. Like if like I was gonna be like the history books one day and like, I might be like, I don't know, in a little history segment, and they're like, this is what this girl did. This is an amazing example of what we should do in the future, or something like that. I think I would love to be an example.
Yes, that's great. History books, let's go. So, are you sensitive or self-aware?
I think I would say I'm sensitive. I would say I react first with emotions. My mom always tells me to be self like aware. So on that account, I'm definitely not self-aware. Like if your mom is telling you, yeah, maybe you gotta be, like mindfully aware, spatially aware. Like she lists down the types of awareness for me. So I would say like I react like emotionally
Yeah.
first.
Okay. Yeah. It's like a point of improvement for yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, here, interesting. So, would you rather speak first or speak last?
Ooh, I would like to speak last. I
Oh
would
yeah.
like if I was in, let's say, a speech, and if I just had the last say, or maybe like in an argument and I had the last say, like that word is gonna stay with you forever because you're never gonna remember the first thing I said. I don't remember the first thing I said in this conversation. I might remember the last thing I said.
Yeah.
So I would always say the last thing last. Yeah.
Yeah. You would rather drop the bomb and
Yeah.
close it out.
Um,
Okay. All right. So thank you, Praj, for participating in our Atleta Filipina Rapid Fire. And like just to wrap up the episode, can you just share an encouragement to our listeners and viewers?
Um, yeah, of course. Sorry, I'm like thinking. Encour- Okay. Um, Growing up, I was always told that it takes a village to raise an Olympian, but I was also told it takes one person, to believe in you. And if I were to say anything to just like people out there, the first thing that you need to do is just believe in yourself. I would say like both of those, though they may be true, I would say it starts within, you have to block whatever outside happens and you need to work on yourself and just think, well, let me look at me and then let me look at outside. And then when you look at outside and everyone's going to see your ray of sunshine, everything is just going to go towards you and everyone is going to believe in you. But you have to emit that credibility and that like power of like, how wonderful of a person you are and just day to day life. Yeah.
Aw. Thanks, Rod. You are such a ball of sunshine. Like, I truly enjoyed this conversation with you. And thank you for joining She Speaks as well and gracing us with your presence in today's episode. So, for all our listeners and viewers, follow us at Atleta Filipina to catch more She Speaks episodes and features on our Filipina athletes like Proj. Again, this season is co-presented by Modest. Lakas ng confidence with Modest. Kasi pag meron na you, Modest got you. Again, this is Vigo and thank you for tuning in. Bye!
Oh yeah, watch me this summer on American Ninja Warrior on ABC and Peacock, guys. Goodbye!
Yes! That's it!